What up, world? It's your man Art back with another episode of You Dig. And this right here is more of that NBA talk, man. Got on my guy General Hannibal X of Journey of a Ballaholic and my homeboy Daniel Artest of the Daniel Artest Podcast. Had that good talk talking about the NBA Finals coming up. Got that Lakers versus Heat. Had that GOAT conversation talking about Bron versus Jordan. Everything talked about in this conversation, man. So make sure y'all tune in. Tomorrow, we getting back to that You Dig episode, the season finale tomorrow. So make sure y'all tune in on that Thursday episode. But right now, we about to drop that NBA talk for you. You dig?
Yeah, I'll jump it off, man. Just thinking about Miami.
Too,
Yeah, for sure, man. This is Jimmy's first year there, and they're in the finals already. No one really saw this. Of course, coming out of Philly, he had a couple big games, couple closeouts and game winners and things like that. So you're like, we know he can do it, but he just had that tumultuous little turn in Minnesota where it was like, is this guy actual star? Or is he just like a good player who has a head problem? You know what I mean? But he showed, he just said, I'm not for everybody. So just to see this cat coming from all this trauma and all this drama in the league, and then like his first year in a real spot where they can win a chip, he takes them there. You know what I mean? So it kind of shows the pedigree of that brother, man. So big shouts out to Jimmy for taking his team to the spot where he at now. The emergence of Bam, I'm seeing Goran take it to where he's finally taking it. So I don't think Goran's had this type of playoff success thus far. So he actually gets the opportunity to be successful, man. So it's really cool just to see the composition of that Heat team and to see how they just really, this is their first year, of course, with their leaders, first year with the leader. Bam was emerging last year, but this is his first year as an all-star. And for that team, like, no one saw it on the radar because they didn't really have any stars like that. You know what I mean? No one really saw, how does this team make it to the championship? How does this team make it through the East? How do they beat Giannis? How do they overcome all the Celtics have to offer? You didn't even really think about it because it's like this team doesn't have enough to kind of get out the first round. You know what I mean? This is the team that's just like you would think with the fight to get to the playoffs and, just be that 5 or 4 seed type thing. But look at them now, you know what I mean? So it showed they had the caliber, but I just didn't think it would happen this soon, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. I thought that the Miami Heat was going to be like, second round and out type of team. You know what I'm saying? But they surprised us, man. Listen, like what Hannibal said, man. They got a bunch of dogs on that roster over there, and they ready to play. I'm still leery on the young guys on that team. You know what I'm saying? I still think they putting a lot of expectations on their rookies and stuff, and I still think that, I'm gonna ride on that. I'm gonna ride on that this whole time. That I just feel like they ain't gonna come through in the finals, man. I feel like the Lakers face whatever the Miami Heat got. The Lakers already faced it in these rounds. You know what I'm saying? They already faced a team in Houston that can shoot a lot of threes, like what Miami do. They also faced the Denver Nuggets team that has I'm not gonna say that Bam Adebayo is a dominant big man, but an all-star big man. You know what I'm saying? And then at the end of that, the Lakers, between the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets, the Lakers only lost twice. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like a lot of this media-driven narrative that, that Miami's tough, that they can really take the Lakers to 7 games, I think that is really overblown.
One of the reasons that I like the Miami Heat, especially against Boston, and to give even, as I had them giving Milwaukee a really tough series and advancing past them, is because this squad is unconventional in that they're deep. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, this is a team that, they don't, like you said, they're not relying on 1 or 2 superstars. That's not their makeup. These guys had 7 guys during the regular season that averaged double figures. You know what I'm saying? 7 guys. Then during the playoffs, they've got 6 guys averaging double figures. When you have that kind of production that you can, one night it could be somebody for 15, one night it could be somebody for 20. I mean, out of those 6 guys that are averaging double figures during the playoffs, 4 of those guys give you. So anybody's night to go out there and get you. And that's what the thing that I didn't like about Boston was so reliant on their top 4 guys. And if one of those guys were off, it seemed like everything was off about them, right? They just needed so much, excellent play from all of them. Now, granted, Gordon Hayward came back to kind of be that 5th guy, but it just was a little too late, right? Whereas Miami, we saw, with them, even the Eastern Conference Finals, those 4 guys, their top 4, with it being Bam, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Dragic, they raised their level of play to where all 4 of them were averaging 19 plus while still giving you 2 extra guys, still giving you double figures. So when you got that kind of firepower where you can bring multiple guys off the bench that can, they can come in and give you legit production. I mean, look what Tyler Hero did, man. Like you say, Granted, he is young, and I get that. And listen, the reality is, can he do that in the finals? We won't know until we see it. I mean, we remember seeing the young Oklahoma City Thunder, how they steamrolled people back in 2012. Then James Harden gets in the finals and lays a dud. So you never know how somebody's going to play in the finals until the actual finals start. So I understand that, but I have to disagree with the notion that they can't keep up with the Lakers. Now, listen, I'm a big Laker fan. However, I also understand that the Lakers, what they faced thus far in every single round is they faced superstars. They faced guys that it was easy to game plan because you knew the ball was going to be in the hands. You knew it was going to be in Damian C's hands in the first round. You knew it was going to be Harden and Russ was going to take most of the shots. In the Western Conference Finals, you knew it was going to be Joker and Jamal Murray. So when I look at it, they can't just key up on two guys, as we just talked about. So that's going to make a tougher challenge from the defensive standpoint for the Lakers. And then from the offensive standpoint, they're not dealing with man. They're going to be dealing with the zone and a lot of it. So before I get too in depth to that, what do you think? What's your initial reaction, Art, to the matchup as far as with the Lakers?
I think it's a good matchup, man. I think the Lakers' size overwhelms pretty much the entire league. Anytime you have a point guard that's 6'8", 250, you know what I mean? Then if you have AD playing the 4, that's 2 7-footers. Then if you have, say, Kuzma's in, and that's a 6'9", that length can sometimes be a zone breaker, especially with if LeBron's touching the paint. Like, you really can't stop LeBron from touching the paint. So paint touches, and if the boys are shooting, man, they're going to get out of that zone quick. They do have some decent shooters once they get hot, man. I'll admit, we are slightly inconsistent from the three-point line, but when he gets hot, they're getting out of that zone quick. So I really think the Lakers really have enough to break that zone, enough length to out-rebound that zone. Zone often causes rebounding issues, where that's one of the Lakers' strong points. So where their weaknesses lie, you know what I mean? Stretch 5 is a zone breaker, and we have the best stretch 5 in the game right now. So I don't really think the zone is going to be as effective as it was against other teams who had basically 6'8" guys trying to shoot threes and basically taking too many three-point shots. I think the Lakers will be more just making an effort to get to the lane rather than just settling on jump shots. Because that's the way you lose against the zone, is settling on jump shots. Because just like you can drive a man, you can drive zone. You know what I mean? It's not like because that's the shot that's available off the swing, that's the shot you got to take. You literally pump fake, drive, dish. Those type things is really what's going to work against that zone. So I think it's a smooth matchup as far as Lakers facing that defense. We can start getting to the results of what I think is going to pan out. So I'll just leave it there. You know what I mean? But I think it'll be a good matchup on the Lakers end.
Yeah, I agree, man. The old basketball adage. If you have the best player, you have the advantage. You know what I'm saying? But listen, Lakers got two. They got 2 top 5 players on the team, and LeBron and Anthony Davis, man. I think that Miami will pressure the Lakers with their depth, with their shooting, with their defensive options against LeBron James, with Jimmy Butler and Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, and everything like that as well. In Miami, they have the ability to double team, to stunt and recover from any type of double team they decide to throw at LeBron and everything. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like that the Lakers might just be too much at the end, man. You know what I mean? As impressive as the Miami has been, you know what I mean? They could possibly go 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying, with the Lakers, but I just feel like when LeBron, decides to turn it up offensively, and we also know that he could turn it up defensively, the Lakers is going to be hard to beat, man.
I definitely agree, man. I think for me, the way I look at the outcome of this is that, like I said, clearly I'm going with the Lakers. I think it's a consensus. It's going to be the Lakers winning the championship. To me, I think the key for that is going to be LeBron James. As you said, obviously, I think he will be the Finals MVP. I mean, Anthony Davis is kind of, there's really been a 1A and 1B right now. It hasn't been a first option, second option. It kind of gone back and forth between him and Davis thus far. But I think now we're going to see LeBron take that step forward, right? The way we saw in game 5 against Denver, how he just told everybody, get out the way, I got this, I'm going to take us home. I think that's the LeBron we're going to see from game 1 and moving forward, to go ahead and put a stamp on the series, on the finals, and go get that finals MVP, right? To have vouched for him all season to be the regular season MVP. I think understood great chemistry, and I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Davis assisting LeBron, not necessarily from passes, but assisting him with his rebounds, with his defense, with the communication to help LeBron be the best he can be. Because listen, I mean, say what you want to say. I think Anthony Davis is the best teammate LeBron has ever had. As far as playing in this time period, like Dwayne Wade from 2011 to 2014, that Dwayne Wade, I don't think was the best Dwayne Wade that he was. I think from 06 to 09 was probably the better Wade. But 11 to 14, I would take this Anthony Davis over that Wade, over Kyrie Irving, over any player that LeBron has played with thus far because of Anthony Davis' two-way dominant ability. So when it comes to that, the Miami Heat just don't have an answer for that. I mean, Jimmy Butler, I love his toughness, but you can't put Jimmy Butler on him and say, go stop LeBron, right? You can't put Bam even on Anthony Davis and say, go stop Anthony Davis. So that's why I think they have to run zone, but you can't just run one consistent zone. You can't just go out and say, we're going to run a 2-3 or we're going to run a 3-2 and that's going to stop the Lakers. You got to mix and match. I mean, it's got to be like, Spoelstra's got to be like a defensive coordinator, audibly starting in a 2-3, switching it up to a 3-2, switching to a box and one, switch to a man, coming to trap this play. You got to keep LeBron off his toes because if you do something too much consistently, he's going to pick that apart like Joe Montana or somebody, right? So I think that's going to be why the Lakers are going to have just too much for them. And I'm honestly, even though I think my heart has been telling me Lakers in 6, honestly, I think this may go 7 games. I really do it. I think LeBron will probably take it in that 7th game, just dominate this thing and send it home. So I'm going Lakers in 7, man.
Oh man, Hannibal going 7, man. What he doing, man? He just switched up on us, man.
Yeah, man. He's not going no 7, man. Hannibal.
Nah, he want to see 7 more games because when the league is over, we gotta wait a whole 3 months. That's what he want. He want to see 7 games.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
I get it, man. I get it. I don't. They have the strategy. Like you can go all the coaching you want, but I really don't think they have the personnel. Like their top 3 defenders are Bam, Jimmy, and Jay. You know what I mean? Outside of that, outside of Bam, Jimmy, and Jay, who else defends like that? Maybe Dragic, maybe. Outside of that, you literally have 3 strong defenders. But yeah, Hannibal, I was touched on the fact that you going 7 now, man. Like, what you doing, bro? You sound like a Heat fan a little bit. Wait.
Is that better? Can you still hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
All right. So listen. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm a Laker fan. You know, straight like that. But I gotta be real. I gotta be legit. And for me, I think that this will be the toughest matchup that the Lakers face all playoffs because, like I said, it's tougher to scheme against this team because they don't have those superstars. And then also, like I said, the defensive zones that we're going to have to face and the schemes that Spoelstra's going to bring, like this is going to be tough, man. Like he understands LeBron's weaknesses. He understands his strengths. So he's going to do what he can with the best personnel that he can to try to combat that. And I think the combination of mixing up zone, going from a 2-3 to a 3-2, switching to trapping, switching to doubling. He's going to mix this thing. He's not going to give LeBron a steady diet of any one defensive look. That's going to be the challenge that may take a game or 2 for the Lakers to adjust to. And so I think that, like I said, the talent of, let's keep it real. They got snipers, right? And though those boys are young, all it takes is for one game, one quarter for them to see the ball going in, for them to get the confidence to say, we're here. And keep in mind, there is no home court advantage. They're not going to have that pressure playing in a Staples Center in front of Jack Nicholson, Denzel, and all these people who are rooting for them. They're starstruck. They're playing the same bubble they've been playing in for the last 3 months. So they're in a situation where they're uncomfortable. Granted, I think it'll take them a game or so to get used to, get the stardom off their egos as far as looking at LeBron, playing against Davis, if they have that at all. I'm not saying that they will, but if they do, I don't think that's going to last long. This is basketball, and these boys know how to play. Where it's going to take a lot of depth. I mean, the guys like Rondo, he's got to continue to play off Rondo. Dwight Howard's got to continue to play excellent in his role in his position. We need guys like Morris to step up. Kuzma's got to continue to be good. So these guys got to play. We got young guys too that have never been on this level, like a Caruso, a Kuzma. These guys have never been on this level. So we got to see how our guys going to respond as well, just as theirs. But at the end of the day, 2 guys that I know is going to bring and give it all, Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, they're going to bring it. And even though they're not as talented as our guys, these guys, man, they got a heart of a champion. They're not champions. They got a heart of a champion, and they play like it.
Yeah, that's not enough, though. That's what I agree, though. I agree. Everything you said is fact, bro. I just don't think that's enough to compete with the like we were saying, 2 of the top 5 it's hard to beat, man. If you look back throughout history, that hasn't lost maybe since that first year when LeBron and Wade got together. I think Wade was still top 5, and obviously LeBron was top 5, and they lost their joint to the Mavericks. But 2 of the top 5 is almost like the recipe for the victory, bro. I mean, the most legitimate one, I would say, you probably go back to the Shaq Kobe Lakers. That was two of the top five, and you seen what they did. That was a dynasty. Not saying that this is a dynasty here with the Lakers, because obviously Father Time is real. I mean, LeBron is 35, but you see what he looks like, man. I think he has one more year of being a top 10 type player, or at least, I don't know, top five, LeBron top five next year. Yeah, what y'all think? But anyway, that's another conversation. But just thinking about what LeBron can do over this year and next year, I think it sets them apart. The Heat, they do have a couple champions over there, at least hearts. I think Iguodala has the heart of a champion, as you can see what he just did to send them boys home. That's what a champion does. I was saying they only had 3 defenders in Bam, Jimmy, and Jay. Iguodala's a hell of a defender too, who comes in and does things in crunch time. But I just don't see that being enough for people like AD, LeBron, who is, that's my guy. Kuzma, I think he's going to have to step up, man. Playoff Rondo should be even bigger. KCP has been playing like a champion since the bubble started. I've been saying that since I've been watching him, man. Like, KCP is playing like a champion. It's just a lot going on with the Lakers that appear to be not too much for the Heat, because the Heat have stepped up the competition and shown that they can beat anybody in the league right now, pretty much. They have the best record in the playoffs. So I do see them doing well, but Lakers, man. Lakers in 4, Lakers in 5. It might be something 5 like that. I ain't gonna say 4, it's stupid. Lakers 5 or 6, bro.
I got Lakers in 5, man. I just think that it's just too much firepower. I'm gonna just go by game basis. I'm not gonna I think that Hannibal's prediction of the game going 7, he should make that prediction at around game 3. You got to see where this is at. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like that 1-2 punch with AD and LeBron is gonna be too much for Bam. You know what I mean? For Bam, for Andre Iguodala, like, who is, a really good veteran player. You know what I'm saying? We already know he played against LeBron James, 5 times in the finals or something like that. So I think that but Iguodala does, he looks older, he looks a little bit slower. His hand speed is still there though, but I just feel like it's just going to be too much, man. And Danny Green is due for a good series. And he also shows up in the finals too with his timely 3-point shooting and everything. And you got to also understand that the Lakers are an elite defensive team, man, but I'm going to give Miami some respect too as well. That I won't say it won't go 7. I think the most that it will go is 6, because this is not the same Miami team before the bubble. There's obviously a different Miami Heat team. You know what I'm saying? They added Iguodala and Jay Crowder too. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's definitely different. I just feel like it's just going to be too much, man. LeBron, he sees the light. He sees the light at the end of the tunnel. LeBron is a man of history. LeBron is chasing something, and this might be his last real chance as him being a favorite in the finals for the years to come. Think about it. KD is out, Kyrie is out, the Warriors was injured. You know what I'm saying? The Bucks and the Clippers didn't answer the bell. Now the door is wide open for LeBron to step in there and get that 4th ring and get that 4th ring and Finals MVP as well.
Mm-hmm. Finals MVP, baby. I don't know, man. We keep saying that. I think I really think AD probably gonna get that, man. I think AD is gonna realize how important his rebounding is. He's gonna lead us in scoring. So if he's rebounding and playing the defense like he's supposed to, he's gonna have to be a defensive presence. You know what I mean? So I think AD might get this Finals MVP, man. But either way, I'm fine with the championship. Bron get it. He don't. It's all good as long as we get that ring, brother.
If he does what we think he's gonna do, which is win this championship, and if he does what I think he's gonna do, which is get that Finals MVP, I'm willing to move LeBron up, and not willing to. I think he would have earned not only moving past number 4, who right now I have is Kobe Bryant, which is my favorite player of all time, but also moving him to number 2, being the second greatest of all time, only behind Michael Jordan. Like, there's not a lot of stuff that I agree with that comes out of Paul Pierce's mouth, but when he said that, I actually agree with that. If LeBron wins this, I think he becomes the second greatest of all time. To have done 3 championships with 3 different franchises, 3 different coaches, 3 different teams. To win a championship in both conferences, like, that's not a small feat. And like I said, other than, we'll take Michael Jordan out of this, because to me, like I said, Jordan is still the GOAT. But other than that, whose resume truly stacks up when you look at stats, when you look at the awards, and you can throw in the championship, when you combine all that together, who other than Jordan can you really say has a resume better than that? You know what I'm saying? So that, once again, that's depending on LeBron closes that deal and gets that chip this year, getting that 4th. Like I said, no, he's never had a Hall of Fame coach, right? This is something that Magic had for every ring with Pat Riley. Kobe had Phil, Jordan had Phil, Shaq had Phil. So who has been that elite leader, that elite coach that he's had? Nobody. Has there been a specific system like Tim Duncan had with Greg Popovich and the Spurs offense? No, he hasn't had that. So that right there, he is the system. Like that, LeBron is the system, and I think that right there, man, that's something to be said. What you think?
So who's number 2 before this championship? I need to get that clarity.
So for me, right now, I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar number 2. You know, okay. I got the captain number 2. I mean, 10 finals, which LeBron has just now tied Kareem with 10 finals MVPs, and all the other stuff that he's got. So I got Kareem number 2 right now. Okay,
that's solid. I can't combat that. That's a good one. All right. Well, I'll just jump right in. I do think even when see, now that you put Kareem there, even when winning this chip, I'm not sure he's better than Kareem, bro. Like Kareem is honestly like number 1. He just don't get the credit because Jordan is most recent. But as far as basketball player throughout basketball history, like this dude lost like 10 games before he got to the league, like ever. Like no high school games, no college games. Like, come on, son. That's a whole different basketball player. We can't even talk about that. But I do think this championship is important. It is important in the legacy. Because it will bring him to it'll be 5, 4, and 5 or 4 and 6 in the finals. So 4 and 6 is 10 is crazy. He dare 10, like it's 10 straight. Not straight. He's got 10 finals, bro. Like how many people got that? Okay, Kareem or somebody. Who else got 10? You know what I mean? Of course he's lost a few, but he got there that many times. So to say dude ain't solidly put it number 2 or even number 1, man, that's a whole different argument, man. But I think he might have 2 in his belt. So Hannibal, I'm gonna I'll let Daniel chime in too. But so if he wins this one and next year, is he past Jordan?
No. He would have to. No.
Yo, whatever, man.
He's got it.
Okay, what you got,
Daniel? For him to pass Jordan, in my book, he's got to have at least 6 championships. The conversation doesn't start with him and Jordan until he gets to 6 rings.
That's not true. I hear you. Robert Horry is the GOAT. Then go Robert Horry, son.
No, sir. Come on. Once again, to me, it's not just about championships. Like I said, if it was just about championships, then Bill Russell would be the GOAT, right? He's got 11. Sam Jones has 10. So it's not just about championships. That's why I always factor in what are your stats, what are your awards. So Robert Horry shouldn't even be brought up in the conversation when we talk about the GOATs, right?
Does it matter how much help they have? Does it matter how much help they have to win those?
Every person who's ever won a championship has had help. There's only 2 times that I can say a team or a superstar won a championship that didn't have superstar help. That was Hakeem in 95 and Dirk in 2011. Other than that, everybody else had help. Magic had Kareem for every championship. Kareem had Oscar and Magic for.
Clyde was a star in 95.
No, sir. Clyde wasn't there in 95. Clyde came in 96.
Clyde came in. No. No, the Bulls won in 96. Clyde came in 95, bro. Clyde won the ring in Houston in 95.
Clyde came in 95, but in 94 he wasn't there. That's what I meant to say. In 94 he wasn't there. In 95 was when he came. So the first championship that Hakeem won in 94, he didn't have a superstar besides. Otis Thorpe was his second best player. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the reality is, not Otis Thorpe, Robert Horry. What's his name? Robert Horry was the second best player on that team. So Robert Horry is known to be a role player. To me, he's the greatest role player of all time. But Robert Horry and guys like Vernon Maxwell, Sam Cassell, those guys, his help. And to me, that's it's solid. Okay, he's solid, but once again, that's not superstar talent. Shaq and Kobe. Shaq had Wade. So my point is that LeBron has had help. Absolutely. What other superstar? Even Jordan had Pippen for every championship, right? So I can't knock LeBron for having Anthony Davis or for having Dwayne Wade or Kyrie Irving. I can't knock him. But also, I think you got to give him credit because he didn't just have one core of solid players. That changed. So it showed that he's the consistent piece. Not having a certain Scottie Pippen or having a certain Shaq or a certain system. He was the guy that, regardless of what team he went to, what superstar talent, he still got the job done.
Well, y'all talking about greatest players of all time. Yeah, Jordan got to be 1. Right now, I have Kareem 3 because I got Magic at 2. Because Magic was the leader of those Laker championship teams right there. You know what I'm saying? Then I got LeBron 3, And it's really pretty much it's a toss up from there for me, man. There's just so many names being thrown out because I like it's like a lot of players that I like, you know what I mean? So my greatest of all time, my top 10 greatest of all time is different because I just have Isaiah Thomas in my top 10 because he's the only point guard at his size to put the backpack on and win 2 championships. No other point guard ever did that. So that's why he's like in my top 10. And plus he's the second greatest point guard of all time. So he got to be in there. You know what I'm saying? He won in an era where he beat the holy trinity of basketball and Michael, Magic, and Larry Bird too. You can also put Kareem in there too as well. You know what I'm saying? So hey, you got to respect what Isaiah Thomas did. You know what I mean in Detroit though. But you know, LeBron. If LeBron wins his championship, I would say he's 2. I would say he's 2. You know what I mean? In order for him to get the 1, not only he got to get 6, he got to go for a 3-peat though. You know what I'm saying? He got to get a 3-peat. And that's not going to happen right now because teams is going to load up again. You know what I'm saying? To try to take down LeBron and AD. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's just my opinion on that one, y'all.
I'm a rebuttal real quick. Man, they had to compose a whole Warriors dynasty to compete with LeBron. LeBron was in that finals if they didn't compose that team to be 3 All-Star, 73 plus the best player in the league, LeBron would have had at least 2 more. You can't look at his record and say because he don't have 6, you competing with Jordan. Like, bro, Jordan wouldn't beat them. You think Jordan winning chips against the four All-Star Warriors? No, it's not about winning. It's about being the player who you are, playing in the NBA, playing in whatever league you playing in, and if you want, like, switch these players out, championship there. LeBron winning 6 championships, you put him with the Bulls, bro. If you give him DJ Armstrong, John Paxson, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Dennis Rodman, Tony Kukoc, all these people throughout his history, bro. LeBron took the dang 2006 Cavaliers. Their second best player was Drew Gooden, bro. Eric Snow. Well, come on, son. Jordan not taking Drew Gooden and Eric Snow to the finals. He not.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna emphatically disagree with you. Number one, because the East back then in 2007 when LeBron did that was extremely weak. It was extremely weak. Number one,
the Pistons weren't weak. The Pistons weren't weak.
The fact that when you name one team out of the entire Eastern Conference shows just how weak it was. That was my point. And so, other than the Pistons who were getting old by 2007, remember that Pistons team won a championship in 2004. So by 2007, they weren't as good as they were in 2004 when they won their championship. Number one. Number two, I give LeBron credit for that. Just making the finals that year, I give him a lot of credit. And then he ran into a dominant San Antonio Spurs team. However, let's not forget, 2011 actually happened. And LeBron James had Dwayne Wade. LeBron James had Chris Bosh and lost not because he faced some dynastic team. He lost because he choked on the big stage. So the reality is, until he's able to show, because to me, he still hasn't made up for that one. I mean, I'm going to keep it real with you. Jordan, yes, he's lost before he got to the finals, but Jordan never would have choked in a finals. Never would have. So you want to talk about giving LeBron Jordan's Bulls, give Jordan Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Is he losing to that Dallas Mavericks team? Absolutely not. So my point is, would he have beaten the Golden State Warriors team? Well, I don't necessarily knock LeBron for losing those championships because LeBron faced the better team and he did his thing. He didn't choke in the finals, even though he lost. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't necessarily look at his record as a negative, but I always hold 2011 over his head because that championship was on him. Dwayne Wade outplayed him. Chris Bosh outplayed LeBron in that finals. Think about this, all right? LeBron in that finals was the 5th leading scorer in the entire finals. That means that was 2 guys from his team that averaged more points and 2 guys from the other team that averaged 2 points. Dirk was one of them. Do you know who the second guy was that averaged more points than LeBron in that finals?
Jason Terry. It was Jason Terry.
Not even an all-star. Not even an all-star. Right. So my point is,
you're not all-star to put up points, but you can't say that he had a better performance because he put up more points. LeBron still averaged 7 and 8 in that series. 17, 7 and 8 was better than Bosh's 18 and 8 or whatever you want. You can't say he was the second best player on his team the third best player on his team just because he was third in scoring.
Those are empty stats, bro.
He choked though. He choked. Undoubtedly, that was not a championship performance.
And the point is, when have we ever seen Jordan not have a championship performance? Even when he was losing, before he got to the finals, in those years that he was losing, Jordan was still giving you championship level performances, even when he was going out. There's never been a series where you can look at Jordan and say, I'll make up for that. And
So
I think
LeBron
if he does that this year by winning this. Go ahead.
So LeBron's bad performance in the finals negates him from ever having the one spot unless he wins a three-peat?
No, I didn't say that. What I said is, I think, to me, Daniel said three-peat. For me, I think for him to pass Jordan, along with all the stats that he's got, because he's already surpassing Jordan when it comes to stats. He's trying to catch Jordan in awards, and I think he needs to get more Finals MVPs to do that. But to me, the championship, when we look at the ring count, that's got to be even, because he's lacking Jordan in awards. He's surpassing him in stats, but in the ring count is right now favoring Jordan. So in those three categories, Jordan's winning 2 out of those 3, right? LeBron's only winning that stat category. So for me, before it's even a discussion, he's got to have 6 so that ring count is 6-6. And then I'll give him the credit of making all those extra finals. But you're not going to have a worse record in the finals than Jordan and have less championships than Jordan, and for me to even have a conversation about you being on the level of Jordan.
Man, just to say they have to win 3 more championships at 35, man. Daniel? That's huge.
I think, I don't really do the LeBron James Jordan debates anymore, man. I retired from that a couple of months ago. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, like I said that LeBron could be the GOAT. I just want him to 3. I think he got to have at least 1 3-peat under the belt. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's going to be hard for him to catch Jordan, because Jordan, 6-0 in the finals. You know what I mean? I mean, that record alone is crazy. You know what I mean? If LeBron wins, he'll be 4-6. I don't even think 3-6 is a bad record. Listen, I don't even think LeBron's record is not even a bad record in the final, because he 17 years in the league. You know what I mean? 10 finals in 17 years. Like that's crazy.
Major.
You know what I'm saying? He was only favored. This is the 3rd time in LeBron James finals history he's been a favorite in the finals. 3rd time. So, you know what I mean? He's been an underdog in most of them. You know what I'm saying? He was even an underdog versus OKC, which was weird. We had to look that up or whatever. But, listen, man, LeBron, his resume speaks for itself. I just think that whatever, any debate that has with LeBron, I think it's just like fans' opinions and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of people, have Jordan, but a lot of people have Mike too. I mean, a lot of people have Jordan and a lot of people have LeBron as well. And that's even NBA players. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. The past generation NBA players be like Jordan. This generation be like either LeBron or Kobe or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's just, I just think that it's just too up to the person.
It's all opinionated, right? I mean, that's what we love to do, is to give our opinions and try to to provide facts to be able to support those opinions. But I mean, like you said, from era to era, there was times where people thought that Bill Russell or Will or Kareem were the best, back during the 60s and 70s. And then, like you say, Magic was supposed to be better than Jordan until Jordan decided to surpass him. And so, this debate will always go on. Then one day, 10, 20 years down the road, they'll be talking about somebody trying to compare him to LeBron James. So it's going to continue to go on, and that's what we love about the sport. But for me, there has to be a consistent level of excellence, and we've seen that from LeBron. That's why he's in my top 5. LeBron's consistency, you can't just diminish that. His availability. Say the best ability is availability. He's been there in these playoffs. He's been there, other than last year, where was a major injury to kind of to the groin area. He's been there, and so you got to give him credit for that. But to me, the GOAT conversation, when we talk about whether it's boxing, for me it's Muhammad Ali, martial arts is Bruce Lee, people in football, they got their guys well. But when it comes to the greatest of all time, you got to be able to set a standard of excellence that is hard to reach. It shouldn't be easy to go from GOAT to GOAT to GOAT. It should be hard. And so everybody since Jordan left in '98 have said, who's going to be the next Jordan? And they threw out a lot of different names, whether it's Vince Carter, Harold Miner, Kobe Bryant. And none of these guys have lived up to it. Kobe's my favorite player. He couldn't even get close to living up to what Michael Jordan did. And so trying to put LeBron over Jordan, to me, is just, it's premature, especially number one, why he's still playing. But number two, it's premature because I don't think that the resume speaks for it. And so, like I said, LeBron, like I said, he's a great player. I don't want to sound like I'm taking anything away from him. And I think he will continue to submit his resume. And it's something that you said as well earlier. I think LeBron and the Lakers actually have a chance to three-peat. This Laker team, they're going to come back with the same team next year. And they're going to be better next year than they were this year because they get Avery Bradley back. I want to segue to with this, I want to segue from the GOAT conversation, and I want to get your thoughts on what do you think about this Doc Rivers Clipper firing? Because for me, I got a lot of strong opinions, but I want to hear you all first.
I'll go first. My opinion on it was that I think he should have had at least another year. You know what I'm saying? Outside of this whole pandemic situation, he should have had a whole nother year to get this team together. This team is still a championship contending team, regardless. You know what I mean? They still got, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Even though Paul George, we know what he did in these playoffs. You know what I mean? I think that he would have bounced back. I think Paul George is going to bounce back next year. You know what I mean? I think Kawhi is going to continue to be Kawhi as well. I think this Clipper roster is going to be hungry. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that he should have had another year, but I guess, Steve Ballmer made the call to fire him. And, I guess, maybe because of, 7 years there, they only got to the second round. You know what I mean? They never made a conference finals appearance. So I guess, it's time for a new voice. You could tell the players was definitely not listening to Doc Rivers, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, the coach shouldn't be blamed. You know what I mean? I think that players play. You know what I'm saying? Players play. And your leaders are not leading. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's what happened, man. You know what I mean? Kawhi got to step up as a leader, as good as he is, as good as Kawhi is. Like, he's not a vocal leader. He don't do nothing. He's just like, whatever. So I think that he gotta own up to some of that.
Yeah, man. It sucks. I don't think they should have got rid of Doc either. Really, but I saw the disconnect in the playoffs. They didn't seem like they were paying attention to him, or basically it was just a disconnect in the team. And usually that's from the top. Coach is usually the reason why it's a disconnect amongst the team. But as far as the composition of the team, I really don't like it, man. Of course, the two wings, you keep Kwahi, keep PG, keep them together, but they don't have any shooting outside of their 1 through 3. JaMychal Green comes in and gives you a little bit, but the way the league is composed right now, you really need at least 3 shooters on the court at all time, it appears. You know what I mean? So, like, their point guard is somewhat suspect. Patrick Beverley can't really shoot. Shamet can come in and give you a little bit from the point guard position as far as shooting, but then he lacks in defense. So it's like that composition is kind of weird, man. Lou Williams lacks in defense. So I really don't really trust their power forward and their center to think they can beat the Warriors coming back, think they can beat the Nuggets. I don't see them beating the Nuggets. Honestly, Kawhi looks like he's taking a step back as far as his body taking a toll on him. See, people look at LeBron and think it's just a given because LeBron is 35, but LeBron's been investing crazy in his body for 10, 15 years. Kawhi and them just started doing that 2 or 3 years ago because they saw LeBron doing it. LeBron been doing it his whole career, so of course he gets to 35 and still looks 28. But Kawhi is 29, but he's starting to look 30, 32, 30. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Them boys, they got their window's this big. Trust and believe, because PG auto surgery, shoulders, knees, dislocated legs, all that stuff is going to come back to you when you're 30 plus. So unless they start getting younger and younger quick, I mean, next year they might be top 5. It's not a guarantee they're a top 5 team next year in the NBA. So you think you changing the coaching and that's going to bring you to a chip? Well, Ballmer, man, he was a little too late. If they ain't get this one, man, I don't think they're getting one. Sorry, Clippers.
Well, I think to respond to Daniel's comment first, I actually disagree. I do think it was time to get rid of Doc. And even though it was only 1 year, the reason is that this was a monumental collapse that when you got this kind of talent, you don't have. Like, a lot of times, and I heard somebody tell me, they say, well, LeBron has never won a title his first year when he got to a team. And I understand that the problem with that is that LeBron was getting to the finals and losing. Like, the Clippers not only didn't make the finals, they didn't make the conference finals, and they're not even losing to a team that's in the finals. So this right here it's not like they lost to the Lakers and you lost 7 games. You lost to the Denver Nuggets, whose season is now over as well, and you did it in embarrassing fashion. Up double digit in 3 straight games. Not only that, is that this isn't the first time as a Clipper coach that Doc Rivers has lost a 3-1 lead. We're not even going to talk about what he did on Orlando and when he lost that 3-1 lead. Just as a Clipper coach, this is the second time he's done that. So for me, I think it was time because the players weren't responding. Doc Rivers was not making in-game adjustments. And to be honest with you, Doc Rivers, to me, is somewhat of an overrated coach. Like, other than that Boston Celtics team where he had a stacked team with KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and the other solid role players that they had, what has Doc done? Like name something that you can really say other than that Boston team that he had that really speaks to his greatness as a coach. So therefore, I think that they needed a change. But I also want to agree with Art because I think that not only from a coaching standpoint you need to change this roster, and I said it from day one, this is not a championship roster. From day one, I have said when you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, their styles, their games, it duplicates each other. Paul George is a watered down version of Kawhi Leonard. There's nothing really that George brings to the game that Kawhi Leonard doesn't already do. The same areas they want to score it is the same. Like I said, they're two-way players, but they're both ISO players. And so I always said that when they first got Paul George, he needed to change his game to be more of a Scottie Pippen versus trying to be the same version of himself with just less shots. And that's all he did. He tried to be the same Paul George that we've seen in OK City, but just doing that by taking a couple of less shots a game. That wasn't going to get it done. The second thing is they had no big man. Like, you cannot win a champion. Look at the two teams in the finals right now. They have big men. Every team that's ever won a championship, and I continue to bring this stat up, every team that's ever won a championship in the history of the NBA, they have had a power forward or an all-star that has made, a power forward or center that's made the all-star or the all-NBA team prior to the year that they won the championship. Every single one of them. So who was that for the Clippers? They had nobody like that. And so the big men situation, and that's why Jokic killed them. You look at their point guard. Like you said, and I agree with you, they had nobody to facilitate. Every player who had the ball in their hand was a score-first type of player. Lou Williams, Reggie Jackson, Kawhi, Paul, everybody trying to score first and pass second. Who's that guy out there like a Rondo? Who's that guy out there like a LeBron? Every team that Kawhi Leonard's ever won a championship with, he's had a legitimate point guard, whether it's Tony Parker or Kyle Lowry, guys that can create shots for him and make it easy on him. He didn't have that. And so he had to do so much. He wound up wearing down. And we saw that last year as he wore that, even though they won a championship. Look at his stats and look at his efficiency as every round that went on. He got less efficient as the series went from series to series. The same thing happened this year. You can't expect, that's why he doesn't play 82 games, because his body can't take all of that wear and tear. Coach had to change. And I think we're going to see major changes to this roster. You cannot bring Montrezl Harrell back and have him, Lou Williams, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George as your top four players. If that's your top four players, as Art said, this team will not be a top 5 team in the NBA next year. Bottom line.
Bottom line, son.
So for me, as a black man, I hate to see the fact that Doc Rivers got fired. That I don't like to see that, but I think there are other qualified guys that can get the job done.
I just want to make a point. I just want to make a point that I think the Lakers is going to handle Miami Heat zone. All they're going to do is to have a successful zone. All they're going to do is stick Anthony Davis behind the zone, and it's going to work every time. The Lakers figured out the zone that Denver threw on them in one game. We can't forget about that. And also, when the Miami Heat threw the zone and against the Lakers before, they had a point per possession on it. So Miami Heat scrapped the zone. You know what I'm saying? That was before the pandemic happened. You know what I mean? So they're gonna blow that zone up, man. They're gonna blow that zone up. That's just how I feel about it, man. That's how I feel about it. But also I just have one I also have one question though too, like about the Miami Heat too. Can they sustain that fourth quarter play? You know what I mean? Because they be slipping during the first 3 quarters, then they just dominate the fourth quarter. You've seen what they did to Boston in those fourth quarters. Can they keep that up against the Lakers?
Nah, Lakers have certified go-tos, man. Boston had a young player they were trying to go through. Tatum showed his true colors as his youth in this prior series, the unscorable half and stuff like that. And then, Jalen probably had the best series of anybody on that team. And then Kemba Walker's 5'11". They just really didn't have the go-tos at the end of the game that the Lakers will have. And AD's mid-range is impeccable. LeBron's ability to get to the cup is crazy. Rondo's ability to find people. Just that fourth quarter, you can't shut the Lakers down in the fourth quarter like you could those other teams. Giannis can't score like that. We already know. It's a whole different ball game when you got two of the top 5. Like, I'm gonna keep harping on that. 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA on your team. That's not gonna work in the fourth quarter. You got to stay there the whole game if you're gonna win that game.
No, I agree. I agree. I think that's what they're gonna, they'll lose those games because that even though they're a clutch team, and Jimmy Butler is their, he's their kind of their closer. I mean, it kind of goes from game to game, but he's really their closer. I think that LeBron is a certified closer. LeBron's that guy that, of all the greatest players of all time, he's one of those guys you don't mind having the ball in his hands because he's going to make the right play. Even if that's not necessarily him taking the shot, he's going to make the right play. And so the key for Miami is going to be they can't allow LeBron and Anthony Davis to dominate the way that they did, and then also have role players like a KCP go for 15, or Dwight Howard give you a double-double, or Rondo almost giving you a triple-double. Like, they can't have those role players going off and LeBron and Anthony Davis going off. And I think that Spo is going to try to scheme to do one of two things. He's going to try to take away either LeBron or Davis, or just take away the role players and let LeBron and Davis get theirs. To me, I think the better thing, like I say, in that zone, I think the real key for him is trying to take Anthony Davis out of it. You can't do that with Bam, right? There's not one player you're going to put on Anthony Davis to take him out of the series, but by doubling him hard every time he catches the ball, which will take him out of that post because the Lakers want to get the ball to him, so the Lakers will kind of have Davis floating more on that perimeter if they're able to just take the ball out of Anthony Davis' hands on that box. And so that plays into the hands of Miami. I think that's the key, where you got to make the Lakers, who, like I say, are a capable three-point shooting team, but not a dominant three-point shooting team, you got to make them take and make a lot of threes. And that's why I think the zone is going to be utilized more so than what Denver did, because Denver didn't have the defenders. They didn't have the hustlers that Miami has, right? These boys are going to fly around. They're going to fly in and out of that zone. And I think it's not just about using one set zone. Like I said earlier, you got to mix and match things. And so I think Spoelstra's a better coach than Mike Malone. He's better coach than any coach that the Lakers have gone up against. And like I said, he knows where LeBron wants the ball. He knows when LeBron, is going to start. He knows that look that LeBron has when he's ready to take over, and when he needs to switch his defense to focusing more on the role players and to focusing more on LeBron. I think he knows that sensitivity of how to kind of straddle that line between what defense to bring at the Lakers. And so that's why I think it's going to be a tougher series, not necessarily from a talent standpoint, but just from a schematic standpoint.
I want to wrap up with just a couple things, man. Yeah, LeBron was a whole different player back in 2014 when Spo had him, though. So he knows what he was when he had him. But LeBron's fadeaway is completely different. His three-point ability is completely different. He may be even a better passer at this point in his career, but that might be a long shot. Yeah, that's those are good points, though. I think Spo does have an understanding of LeBron game that no one does have, so that's a good point. Also wanted to apologize to Kawhi Leonard, man, because I never say that brother's name right. So let me take this time out to let y'all know I do know how to say the brother's name correctly. Kawhi Leonard. Big respect, top 10 player in the league, possibly top 5. So I definitely got to put some respect to that man's name. Next year for your brother.
He was saying Kwahi for like 3 months.
Right.
I was like, I ain't stop it.
Right.
I was just like, God, to figure this one out on his own, man.
Kawhi Leonard, bro. I ain't gonna disrespect you like the announcement you doing, man.
When you said it the first earlier, I said, oh, he said it right. Finally.
Hey, man, yeah, we got a great finals coming up, man. So I think we'll watch the finals and we'll come back and do an off-season episode at the end of the finals. We'll recap the finals and then we'll see what we're gonna do, what the team's gonna do in the off-season. That sound good?
Yeah, I'm with it.
Good bet, man.
All right, that's it right there, man.
Good bet.
You dig?